I tapped the conference table and said, "We can finish the Phoenix rollout in 6 weeks if the budget stays stable." Victor leaned back and smiled. 6 weeks? That's why you're my right hand. My team laughed softly. I felt proud, warm, safe. Work had always been the place where effort made sense. Numbers obeyed logic. Deadlines obeyed discipline. People rewarded loyalty. At least, that's what I believed. I opened the slide deck again and pointed to the timeline. If we shift the testing phase forward, we save 12%. Victor clapped once. Brilliant. See, this is why we trust you. After the meeting, Liam caught up with me near the coffee machine. "You're carrying the whole company again," he said. I shrugged. "Someone has to." He bumped my shoulder. "Just promise you'll slow down someday." I laughed. "Slow down? I'm finally speeding up." My phone buzzed. Emma's name lit the screen. I answered quickly. "Hey, love." Her voice sounded soft and distant. "Will you be home early tonight?" I glanced at my calendar. "I'll try. Big week." She paused. "You always say that." I forced a smile nobody could see. "I'm doing this for us." That night, Sarah dropped by with takeout. "Mr. Important finally eats," she teased. I rolled my eyes. "Respect your elders." She grinned. "You're only 5 years older." Emma set plates quietly. Sarah watched us. "Everything okay?" Emma nodded too fast. "Of course." Sarah whispered to me in the kitchen. "She seems tired." I sighed. "We both are." Emma called from the table. "Food's getting cold." I sat down and tried to shake the unease growing in my chest. A week later, everything changed in a second. I remember the rain first. Heavy, loud, blinding. Liam's voice echoed in my car through the speaker. "Drive safe, man." I said, "Relax. I know this road." Then headlights exploded across my vision. Tires screamed. Metal crushed. Silence swallowed the world. When I woke, hospital lights burned my eyes. Emma held my hand. "You scared me," she whispered. I tried to sit up and gasp. Pain shot through my body. A doctor stepped in. "You need rest. Several fractures. Recovery will take months." Months. The word felt heavier than the crash. Days blurred into machines and whispers. Victor called once. "Focus on healing," he said. "We've got things covered." I smiled weakly. "Thank you." He replied, "We're family here." After that call, silence replaced him. No updates. No meetings. No plans. Emma visited every evening, but her hugs felt shorter. One night I asked, "Is work okay?" She hesitated. "I'm sure it is." I frowned. "You don't sound sure." She kissed my forehead. "Just rest." Her words comforted me, yet something inside me felt quietly abandoned. At home, recovery became my full-time job. Sarah helped with groceries. Liam called every morning. "Miss the office yet?" he joked. I answered, "I miss walking." He went quiet. "You'll get there." Emma started working late. "Extra shifts," she explained. I nodded, pretending to understand. Bills stacked on the kitchen counter like silent judges. One evening I said, "We'll be okay." Emma replied, "I know." But her eyes avoided mine. Months crawled by. My inbox grew emptier. I finally emailed Victor. "Just checking in." No reply. I messaged Maya from HR. "Any updates on my return?" She wrote back, "We'll discuss soon." Soon stretched into weeks. Liam visited one afternoon and looked around the quiet apartment. "This isn't right," he muttered. I forced a grin. "It's temporary." He shook his head. "You gave them everything." I whispered, "They know that." Even as I spoke, doubt crept in. One morning Emma left early without a kiss. I stared at the door and felt a chill. My phone buzzed with a company newsletter. Victor's face filled the screen beside the Phoenix Project headline. My project. My chest tightened. I called Liam. "Have you seen this?" He hesitated. "Yeah." I whispered, "Why didn't you tell me?" He sighed. "I didn't want to upset you." I said quietly, "I'm already upset." Later that day, an email arrived. My hands shook as I opened it. Position terminated due to long-term absence. I read it 3 times. Emma walked in. "What's wrong?" I handed her the phone. She read silently. "I'm sorry," she said. I asked, "Did you know?" She shook her head too quickly. "No." I wanted to believe her. I needed to believe her. I called Victor immediately. Voicemail. I tried again. Voicemail. I whispered, Please pick up. He never did. I sat on the couch and stared at nothing. Emma placed a hand on my shoulder. We'll figure this out. I nodded slowly. Yeah, we always do. Inside, a quiet fear spread through me like smoke. Liam came over that night with pizza and worry. Say the word, he said. We'll fight this. I asked how. He replied, lawyer, evidence, noise. I rubbed my temples. I just want my life back. He said softly, then we start tomorrow. Emma stayed silent on the other side of the room, scrolling on her phone. I watched her and felt distance growing like a wall. Before bed, I whispered to Emma, we'll survive this, right? She turned off the lamp. Of course. I listened to the darkness. Something felt different. Something felt fragile. I told myself trust was stronger than fear. I told myself loyalty always paid off. The next morning, Sarah called. Coffee delivery? She asked. I said, please. When she arrived, she hugged me tightly. You'll bounce back, she promised. I joked. I bounce slowly now. She smiled, then asked quietly, does Emma seem okay? I hesitated. She's stressed. Sarah nodded, but didn't look convinced. Call me if you need anything, she said before leaving. I opened my laptop and stared at the blank screen. Habit told me to work. Reality told me I had nowhere to log in. I whispered, what now? The silence answered. My phone stayed quiet. No meetings. No deadlines. No Victor. I missed the chaos more than I expected. Emma came home late again. I asked, long shift? She nodded. Very long. I said, we barely talk anymore. She sighed. We're both tired. I replied, I miss us. She paused at the doorway. Me too. But she didn't come closer. I lay awake, listening to the clock tick. Every second felt louder than the last. I whispered into the darkness, I can fix this. Saying it made me feel braver, even if it wasn't true yet. The next day, Liam texted, lunch? I replied, yes. At the cafe, he said, you still look like you're carrying the world. I laughed weakly. Maybe I am. He leaned forward. You're not alone. I nodded slowly. I know. When I got home, I checked my email again, even though I knew nothing new would be there. Empty. Silent. Final. I whispered, this can't be the end. My voice sounded small in the quiet apartment. I promised myself one thing before sleeping. Tomorrow I start again. Saying it felt like holding on to a thin thread in a storm. I closed my eyes and hoped the people I trusted would still stand beside me tomorrow morning. I stared at the termination email again and whispered, this has to be a mistake. Emma stood near the kitchen counter, arms crossed. Maybe call HR, she said. Her tone sounded careful, almost rehearsed. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I'll fix this. I needed to believe that. I dialed Maya's number. She answered with her usual cheerful voice. Hi, how can I help? I said, I got the termination email. There must be confusion. She paused. I understand this is difficult. My stomach tightened. Difficult doesn't mean wrong. She replied, your position required active leadership. I said, I'm recovering from an accident. That's temporary. She spoke softly. The company had to move forward. My voice rose. Move forward without me? She answered, we made a permanent replacement. Silence filled my chest. Permanent? I whispered. Yes, she said gently. I hung up and stared at the wall. Emma asked, what did she say? I forced the words out. I've been replaced. Emma looked away. I'm sorry. I waited for more, but nothing came. Liam arrived that afternoon. He dropped his bag and asked, any news? I laughed bitterly. Yeah, I'm officially disposable. He frowned. You built their biggest project. I said, apparently loyalty expires. He shook his head. We fight this. I whispered, I don't know how. Sarah called later. How are you holding up? She asked. I replied, I'm fine. She snapped, stop lying to me. I sighed. I lost my job. She went quiet. I'm coming over. I tried to protest, but she hung up. When she arrived, she hugged me tightly. You look exhausted, she said. I joked, unemployment suits me. She didn't laugh. I'm serious. You need help. I replied, I just need time. She whispered, I'm scared for you. I forced a smile. Don't be. Emma started coming home later, every night. One evening I asked, why are you working so much? She replied, We need money. I said softly. We need time together too. She sighed. Please don't start. I asked, start what? She shook her head. Nothing. Her distance felt louder than any argument. Days passed in uneasy silence. Bills piled higher. Liam kept calling. Let's talk to a lawyer, he suggested. I replied, maybe later. He said, you're letting them win. I answered, I'm trying to breathe. One morning I woke with a heavy feeling I couldn't explain. I opened my laptop and stared at the company website. A headline caught my eye. Phoenix Project near launch. My chest tightened. I whispered, that's mine. I called Liam immediately. Did you see this? He hesitated. Yeah. I asked, who's leading it? He didn't answer right away. Victor, he finally said. My hands trembled. Of course. Something inside me snapped. I'm one of the office, I said. Liam replied. Are you sure? I answered, I need answers. He sighed. I'm coming with you. I said no. I have to do this alone. The building looked the same, but I felt like a stranger. The receptionist smiled nervously. You can't be here without an appointment. I said calmly. I used to run this place. She whispered, please don't make this hard. I ignored her and walked toward the elevators. My heart pounded as the doors opened to the executive floor. Voices echoed from the conference room. Victor's voice. I stepped closer and froze. Emma stood beside him, holding a tablet. She laughed at something he said. My chest collapsed inward. I pushed the door open. What's going on? Silence exploded around the room. Emma's face turned pale. Victor straightened his tie. You shouldn't be here, he said. I laughed in disbelief. That's your first line? Emma whispered, please don't do this. I asked, do what? Ask why my wife is in a meeting I should be leading. Victor crossed his arms. We hired Emma as consultant. I stared at her. You didn't tell me. She avoided my eyes. I didn't know how. I whispered, how long? She said nothing. Victor stepped forward. Let's stay professional. I snapped, professional? You took my job and hired my wife. Victor's voice turned cold. The company needs stronger leadership. I felt the words hit like a punch. Stronger than me? He replied, stronger than someone who can't show up. I said I almost died. He shrugged. Business doesn't wait. I looked at Emma. Say something. Her voice trembled. I deserve stability. The room spun. Stability? I repeated. She nodded weakly. We needed security. I whispered, we had a life. She replied, not anymore. I laughed, but it sounded broken. Are you two together? Silence answered louder than words. Victor finally said, your personal life isn't my concern. That was all the confirmation I needed. My voice shook. You're my friend. Victor replied, I was your boss. I turned to Emma. You were my home. She whispered, I'm sorry. I asked, when were you planning to tell me? She cried, I didn't know how. I whispered, you keep saying that. I walked out before my legs gave up. The hallway blurred as tears burned my eyes. Liam called as I reached the parking lot. How did it go? He asked. I said quietly, they're together. He swore under his breath. I'm coming to you. I whispered, don't. I need a minute. I sat in the car and stared at nothing. My phone buzzed with a company live stream notification. Against my better judgment, I opened it. Victor stood on stage, smiling confidently. I'm proud to present our newest innovation, he said. Applause filled the room. He continued, this project represents years of hard work. My hand shook. Years of my work. Emma stood beside the stage, clapping. I whispered, you replaced me everywhere. Victor's voice echoed through the phone. Our team made this possible. I laughed bitterly. Your team. I dropped the phone and covered my face. My chest felt hollow, like everything inside had been scooped out. I whispered, I lost everything. Liam called again. Talk to me, he said. I answered, I hit rock bottom today. He replied softly, then we climb. I whispered, I don't know how to stand. When I got home, Emma's things were gone. The closet looked empty, like a missing chapter. A note sat on the table. I'm staying somewhere else for now. I read it twice. No love, no apology, just distance. I sank onto the couch and whispered into the silence. This is the lowest point of my life. The words echoed back, heavy and final. I stopped answering calls. I stopped opening curtains. Some mornings I didn't even leave the bed. The silence felt heavy, but it also felt safe. No questions, no pity, no reminders of the life I lost. My phone buzzed nonstop until Sarah showed up with a spare key. "Open the door," she shouted. I stayed quiet. The lock clicked anyway. She stepped inside and gasped. "You look terrible." I muttered. "Nice to see you too." She crossed her arms. "This ends today." I whispered, "I'm fine." She snapped. "No, you're not. You need help." I laughed weakly. "I don't need therapy." She pointed at the messy room. "You need something." I looked away. "I just need time." She shook her head. "Time isn't fixing this." I sighed. "Please stop." She softened her voice. "I can't watch you disappear." I whispered, "I already disappeared." 2 days later, I sat in a small office staring at a framed painting. A calm voice said, "You don't have to speak right away." I glanced up. "You must be Dr. Patel." He smiled gently. "Yes. And you must be someone carrying too much pain." I laughed quietly. "That obvious?" He replied, "Only because you came." I rubbed my hands together. "I don't know where to start." He said, "Start with what hurts most." The words slipped out before I could stop them. "They took everything." He nodded slowly. "Who did?" I whispered, "My boss. My wife. My life." Saying it aloud made it real. He asked softly, "What do you feel right now?" I answered, "Empty." He said, "Not angry." I thought for a moment. "I don't have energy for anger." He replied, "That will change." I asked how. He smiled. "When you remember you deserve better." After the session, Sarah hugged me. "How was it?" she asked. I shrugged. "Strange." She grinned. "That means it worked." I rolled my eyes. "Don't get excited yet." She squeezed my hand. "I'm already excited." Liam called that night. "I've been digging," he said. I sighed. "Please don't." He ignored me. "Your project files still exist." My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" He lowered his voice. "I found old backups." I whispered, "You shouldn't risk your job." He replied, "You risked everything for that company." I stayed silent. Days turned into therapy sessions and slow routines. Dr. Patel asked hard questions. "What do you want?" he said one afternoon. I answered, "Peace." He shook his head. "That's the result." "What's the action?" I frowned. "I don't know." He leaned forward. "Do you want justice?" The word echoed inside me. When I got home, an envelope waited on the table. My hands trembled as I opened it. Divorce papers. Emma's signature looked neat and final. I whispered, "That was fast." My phone rang immediately. Emma's name glowed on the screen. I answered with silence. "I didn't want you to find out like that," she said. I laughed bitterly. "You didn't want me to find out about anything." She sighed. "This is for the best." I asked quietly, "For who?" She replied, "For both of us." I whispered, "I don't recognize you anymore." She paused. "People change." I said softly, "You changed when I needed you most." The line went quiet before she hung up. I stared at the papers and felt something shift inside me. Sadness slowly turned into something sharper, something stronger. The next day, Liam dragged me to a cafe. "You need to meet someone," he said. A man stood as we approached. "I'm Daniel Cho," he said calmly. I shook his hand. "Liam says you need help," Daniel continued. I muttered, "I don't know if I want revenge." He smiled slightly. "Justice and revenge aren't the same." We sat down. Daniel opened a folder. "These are your project files," he said. My breath caught. "How did you get those?" Liam grinned. "Magic," Daniel continued. "Your name is all over this work." I whispered, "Victor erased me." Daniel shook his head. He tried. I rubbed my temples. "What would a lawsuit even do?" Daniel replied, "Expose the truth." I hesitated. "I don't want more drama." He leaned forward. "You already have drama. This gives you control." His words stayed with me long after the meeting ended. Therapy felt different after that. I told Dr. Patel, "I met a lawyer." He smiled. "How did that feel?" I admitted, "Scary. Powerful." He nodded. "That sounds like progress." I whispered, "I'm tired of feeling weak." He replied, "Then stop telling yourself you are." I started waking up earlier. I forced myself to walk outside. Sarah cheered every small victory. "You showered before noon," she joked. I laughed. "Celebrate the basics." Liam kept sending updates. More evidence, he texted. Each message felt like a brick rebuilding my confidence. One evening I stared at my reflection and said aloud, "I'm not finished." The word surprised me. For the first time in months, I believed them. I met Daniel again. "Tell me honestly," I said, "do I have a chance?" He looked me straight in the eye. "You have a strong case." My heart pounded. "Strong enough to win?" He nodded. "Strong enough to expose everything." The word everything echoed in my chest like thunder. For the first time since the betrayal, I felt a spark of hope ignite inside me. I stared at Clara across the small conference table and said, "You really want to hire me?" She smiled without hesitation. "I don't hire resumes. I hire people who fight back." I laughed softly. "That's a new interview strategy." She leaned forward. "Liam told me your story. I see potential, not baggage." I felt my chest tighten. "You're the first person to say that." She extended her hand. "Welcome to the team." The office was small, but alive with energy. Nina waved excitedly from her desk. "I'm the intern," she said. I joked, "the most powerful role in any company." She laughed. "I knew I'd like you." Clara clapped once. "Let's get to work. We're building something big." During our first brainstorming session, Clara asked, "What would you build if fear didn't exist?" I answered without thinking, "A smarter version of Phoenix." Nina blinked. "Isn't that your old project?" I nodded slowly. Clara grinned. "Perfect. Let's make it better." Days turned into long meetings and loud whiteboards. Nina asked endless questions. "Why do users hate slow dashboards?" I replied, "Because time feels expensive." She scribbled notes quickly. Clara said, "I like how you explain things." I shrugged. I forgot how much I missed this. She smiled. "Get used to it." One afternoon, Clara introduced me to Mr. Brooks. He shook my hand firmly. "Clara speaks highly of you," he said. I replied, "I hope I don't disappoint." He chuckled. "Just build something investors can't ignore." Clara whispered, "No pressure." I laughed. "None at all." At night, Daniel called with updates. "We're compiling evidence," he said. I asked, "How strong is it?" He replied, "Stronger every day." I felt a strange calm. "Good." He added, "Victor's lawyers are nervous." I whispered, "That's new." Work became therapy. Nina cheered every milestone. "The prototype works," she shouted one morning. I grinned. "Of course it does." Clara raised a coffee cup. "To progress." I clinked my mug against hers. "To second chances." One evening my phone buzzed with Emma's name. I stared at the screen until it stopped. Nina noticed my silence. "Bad news?" she asked. I shook my head. "Old news." Clara said gently, "You don't have to answer." I whispered, "I know." For the first time, ignoring the call felt powerful. The next week, headlines began appearing online. Liam burst into the office holding his phone. "Look at this," he said. I read aloud. "Victor Hale faces investor scrutiny." My heart raced. Clara smiled knowingly. "Karma moves quietly." I whispered, "I never thought I'd see this." Daniel called later. "The case is progressing fast," he said. I asked, "Are they scared?" He chuckled. "They're very interested in settling." I replied, "I'm not interested in silence." He answered, "I had a feeling you'd say that." Emma kept calling. Voicemails piled up. "Please talk to me," one message said. I deleted it without listening twice. Clara watched me carefully. "Closure can wait," she said. I nodded. "Right now, I'm building a future." Launch day arrived faster than expected. Nina bounced around the office. "We're going live in 10 minutes. Clara adjusted her jacket. Everyone breathed. I laughed. I forgot how this feels. Clara smiled. "Feels like winning." We gathered around the screen as the timer hit 0. Nina shouted, "We're live." Cheers filled the room. My chest swelled with pride. Clara hugged me quickly. "You did this," she said. I shook my head. "We did this." Hours later, Mr. Brooks called. "The response is incredible," he said. I asked, "Really?" He laughed. "Investors love a comeback story." I smiled for the first time in months without forcing it. That night, Daniel called again. "Victor's company stock dropped," he said. I whispered, "Already?" He replied, "Bad press spreads fast." I leaned back and closed my eyes. "I don't feel revenge," I admitted. He asked, "What do you feel?" I answered, "Relief." The next morning, Liam ran into the office breathless. "You're trending online," he said. Nina gasped. "We're famous." Clara laughed. "Let's not get dramatic." I whispered, "This feels unreal." Another call from Emma flashed across my screen. I muted it again. Clara glanced at me. "Still not ready?" she asked. I shook my head. "Not yet." She nodded. "Take your time." Weeks passed in a blur of success and legal updates. Daniel said, "We're close to filing publicly." I replied, "Do it." He paused. "No hesitation." I answered firmly, "No more hesitation." That evening my phone buzzed again. A text from Emma appeared. "Everything is falling apart. Please meet me." I read Emma's message 3 times before replying. "Tomorrow. Coffee shop near the park. Noon." She answered instantly. "Thank you." The next day, I arrived early and ordered black coffee. My hands felt steady, which surprised me. Months ago, this meeting would have terrified me. Now I felt calm, almost detached. When Emma walked in, she looked smaller than I remembered. She sat across from me and whispered, "Hi." I nodded. "Hi." Silence stretched between us until she finally said, "You look different." "I feel different," I replied. She stared at her cup. "I deserve that." I took a slow breath. "Why did you want to meet?" She swallowed hard. "Everything is falling apart." I didn't react. "Explain." Her voice trembled. "Victor is under investigation. Investors pulled out. The company is collapsing." I leaned back. "I heard." She wiped her eyes. "We broke up." I nodded slowly. "I'm not surprised." She whispered, "I thought I chose stability. I chose wrong." I stayed quiet. "I was scared," she continued. "When you got hurt, everything felt uncertain. Victor promised security. I convinced myself it was the smart choice." I asked softly, "Was it worth it?" Tears slid down her cheeks. "No." I looked at her carefully. "Why tell me this?" She hesitated. "Because I regret everything." The words landed gently, not like the storm I once imagined. "I hoped you'd fight for me," she said. I shook my head. "I was fighting to walk again." She cried quietly. "I know." I felt sadness, but no anger. That surprised me most. "I'm not here for revenge," I said. She whispered, "Do you hate me?" I thought for a moment. "No, I just don't need you anymore." Her shoulders dropped, as if the truth weighed more than anger ever could. "I'm sorry," she said again. "I believe you," I replied. We sat in silence until she asked, "Are you happy?" I nodded. "I'm healing." She smiled weakly. "That's good." When we stood to leave, she whispered, "Goodbye." I answered calmly, "Goodbye, Emma." Walking away felt lighter than I expected. That afternoon, Daniel called. "We won." I froze. "Say that again." "We won the case," he repeated. "The court ruled in your favor." I sat down slowly. "It's over." He laughed. "It's public. Victor stole your work. It's official." My chest filled with air I didn't know I'd been holding. "Thank you. You did the hard part," he said. "You chose to fight." I whispered, "What happens to him now?" Daniel replied, "He lost his position this morning." I closed my eyes. "Wow. He may never recover professionally," Daniel added. I exhaled slowly. "I don't feel happy about that." He paused. "You don't sound surprised." "I feel finished," I said. "That sounds like peace," he replied. At the office, Clara burst into my workspace. We saw the news. Nina followed, practically jumping. "You're trending again." I laughed softly. "Good trending this time." Clara hugged me tightly. "You deserve this." Mr. Brooks called moments later. "Congratulations," he said. "Investors love a redemption story." I smiled. "We're just getting started." He replied, "Exactly." The office celebrated that evening. Music played, laughter filled the room, and for the first time in years, I felt fully present. Liam raised a glass. "To the comeback king." I shook my head. "To friends who never left." Sarah hugged me tightly. "I'm proud of you," she whispered. "I couldn't have done this without you," I said. Clara added, "You rebuilt yourself. That's the real victory." I nodded. "You gave me the chance." Nina grinned. "And we built something amazing together." I looked around the room and realized how full my life felt again. Weeks passed quickly. The startup grew faster than we expected. Clients called nonstop. Meetings filled my calendar. Each morning felt like a fresh start instead of a burden. One evening, Liam asked, "Do you ever miss the old life?" I thought carefully. I miss who I was before the betrayal, not the life itself. He nodded. That makes sense. I'm stronger now, I added. He smiled. We can all see that. Later, Sarah asked quietly, do you forgive Emma? I paused. I forgive the pain. I don't forget the lesson. She squeezed my hand. That's healthy. I laughed. Dr. Patel would be proud. She grinned. You should tell him that. During my next therapy session, Dr. Patel asked, how do you feel today? I answered without hesitation. Grateful. He smiled. That's a big shift. I lost everything, I said. Then I found myself. He nodded. That sounds like growth. I laughed softly. It feels like freedom. That night, I stood on my apartment balcony and looked at the city lights. Months ago, this view felt lonely. Now it felt full of possibility. I whispered to myself, I survived. The words felt powerful. I thought about Victor, about Emma, about the pain that once defined me. None of it felt heavy anymore. It felt distant, like a storm I watched from far away. My phone buzzed with a message from Clara. Big meeting tomorrow. Ready? I smiled and typed back. Always. I set the phone down and closed my eyes. Losing everything once felt like the end of my story. Now I understood it was the beginning. Betrayal forced me to rebuild my life piece by piece. It showed me who stood beside me when everything fell apart. It taught me that loyalty should be earned, not assumed. I learned that success means nothing without self-respect. I learned that love cannot survive without trust. I learned that pain can become power if I let it shape me instead of break me. Most of all, I learned that the people who stay during the storm deserve a permanent place in my life. The rest were only passing shadows.